You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 471, the 17th of September 2023. Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jayne Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jayne.
Hello, Michelle. It seems to be like an awfully long while since we've spoken, in person, so to speak.
Well, we have both been on our magnificent travels around the world.
We have indeed.
You covered Europe, I covered America. Nice and simple.
Yeah, we just need to get out to the Far East now. Would have been the trifecta, wouldn't it?
Oh, perfect. I know last week I started unboxing my travels and I talked a little bit about my first day in Disneyland. But today we're going to unpack a little bit of your trip. But as usual, we are going to start the show with a little bit of On This Day in Disney History.
Cool.
So my turn this time. I've dug a few little bits and pieces out of it. And it's going to be 1917. Disney legend and camera effects artist Bob Broughton was born in Berkeley, California. He was working in the camera department and worked on nearly every single motion picture from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to The Black Hole all the way through in 1979. Absolutely fantastic.
That's a career and a half, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thought it'd be nice to celebrate that Disney legend a little bit on today. And another birth today is in 1928, actor and photographer Roddy McDowall, the voice of Mr. Sile in the 1998 A Bug's Life, was born in good old London, England. He also has done other live action credits, including That Darn Cat, The Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, The Cat from Outer Space, The Black Hole, and as the voice of Vincent. He also lent his voice to episodes of Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So,
didn't know that.
Yeah. Very, very interesting what you can find out when you dig back into the history books and find out what is going on. So, we said we were going to start unpacking your vacation. So, let's just start with what ship were you going on?
Went on the Disney Dream, sailing out of Southampton in jolly old England.
And for us Brits, a Southampton port means no flights.
Yeah, which was really nice, actually. I think that's one thing that Simon and I both commented on. It was so nice not to be having to do the 3 hours before the flight goes and all the security that seems to come with nowadays. It was a lot more of a relaxed approach to the start to our vacation.
Well, yes, because of the late, there's been a lot of flight cancellations or delays, and it just adds an extra layer of uncertainty onto your trip.
Indeed, and we were kind of very fortunate that our daughter lives down in Christchurch, which is about 40 minutes away from Southampton. So we were able to combine the start to our holiday with a visit down there the night before, see Molly and her boyfriend, have a meal with them. So we had kind of like a, very chilled out, very relaxed sort of start to the vacation. And we even managed a coffee with them the morning before because we didn't have to be over in Southampton. Our port arrival time was 1 o'clock. So it was, just very chilled, very relaxed and, just a pleasant way to start the vacation. As you say, Michelle, without the stress of how much luggage can I take and is the flight going to be on time and am I going to get on the flight, am I going to miss my connecting flight, all those sorts of things.
Because if you drive down to Southampton, you can take as much luggage on this cruise as you physically want to.
Yeah, and I think on subsequent cruises I will take more advantage of that than I did this time around.
It's a learning curve. So let's just wind back a bit. Now, we have spoken on the podcast a little bit before. You booked it and then found it cheaper and then you rebooked it. But roughly how long ago did you initially book this cruise, to give people an idea of what sort of optimum pricing they can get if they do book a long way in advance?
Well, interestingly, it was roughly around about this time last year. So it was probably towards the end of September, maybe early October at the latest, that I actually booked the Disney Dream. And at that point in time, I've spoken to you an awful lot. Simon had been speaking to one of his work colleagues who'd done a cruise around the Norwegian fjords. And it was those chance conversations that kind of went, oh, let's give this a go, because we've never cruised before. We've never done a Disney cruise before. So this was all completely brand new to Simon and I. And initially it was a case of let's have a look round. And all we were bothered about at that time was having a sea view. We weren't bothered about having a veranda. I didn't want to be an inside room. I just wanted to be able to out and see daylight. That was my main concern. So we booked a room. I think if my memory serves me right, it was deck 7. It was forward, and yeah, it was just a room with a view. And then it would have been about, I want to say February, March of this year, having joined a Facebook group. Many thanks to Michelle for saying, find your Facebook group because it has useful information. There was a few posts that were going up about what they call guaranteed rooms and how people were saving money. And I thought, well, that's not going to affect us because I've only booked a room with a view. There's no way I'm going to get a cheaper room. If anything, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be an inside room, which I don't want. But I thought, well, I just kept seeing more and more posts. I'll have a look. And sure enough, I was able to find a guaranteed room with a veranda cheaper than what I paid for a room with a porthole. The only thing would be is room number. I wouldn't know whereabouts on the ship it was going to be. But because we were saving £1,300, so, this is not a small amount of money, we decided that we would cancel our original booking and rebook for this guaranteed room, which is what we did. And I have to say, I think that was probably a very good decision on our part to do that, because we ended up with a veranda room, which was lovely. And we did use a veranda, which I wasn't sure whether we would or not. I think which is probably why I was thinking, oh no, we don't need it. And actually, we ended up in a fantastic location, as far as we were concerned anyway. We ended up on deck 9. We ended up being midship, and we ended up with a family veranda room, which actually meant we were in category 4A. So for those that Disney not only give you room numbers, but they have these numerous different categories of room, which when you're reading up can be very confusing as to what all these numbers and letters actually mean. But from what I can glean, we kind of got best of the standard sort of veranda rooms. I think the next level up would have took us into concierge. I don't know. But yeah, we were very happy because we got this really decent sized room.
And let's be honest, I've stayed on deck 9 before on the sister ship. It's a fantastic location. Couple of decks up, you're at the fantastic gym, and you have access to cabanas and the pool deck and so many lots of other things. And your room was a lot bigger than the one that you originally had booked for as well, by an extra 50 feet. Now, guys, on a cruise ship, every foot counts.
Well, I think that's what we were blown away with. But when we actually got to the room and walked in, it was like, whoa, this is a lot bigger than we were both expecting. Yes, we took advantage of making sure we unpacked and stowing cases under the bed. But I'd bought magnetic hooks, I'd bought organisers and all these things, and didn't actually end up using. We had that much space just for the two of us. Now, had we have been a family of 4 in there, or maybe even 5, it would have been different. But because there was just the 2 of us, to have all that space to ourselves, it meant that we could just leave. We had space to leave stuff out. We weren't having to figure out where best to hang things, or we had sufficient wardrobe space to hang all our clothes. We had more than enough drawer space to put things, and we had space on the dresser for all our little knicks and knacks and chargers and goodness knows what else. So we were more than happy with what we ended up. And I think, unfortunately, we probably have been spoiled for our very first cruise.
Well, that's the problem, you see, because everything else now, you might sort of think, oh, well, the last cruise, the room was a lot bigger. But it's just a place where you lay your head at the end of the day. So just get that mantra going in your head for the next one.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of use your room as a bit of a bolt hole if you want to, just chill out for a bit. And I think it was lovely that we were able to go back and forth from our room as much as we did. We had the chance to sit out on the veranda, sailing into the fjords was lovely. So we had that experience. But you're right, Michelle, at the end of the day, we're stopping off at ports, we're going exploring. We've got a whole ship to it, or we had a whole ship to explore. So the amount of physical time, apart from sleeping, obviously, that you're actually in your room is kind of minimal, isn't it?
completely agree. It is minimal. It is a nice place to stack your stuff and escape if you just want some alone time, especially this time with you having that veranda, which is a big plus point, where you can have a coffee. And when you are going somewhere particularly scenic, it's so wonderful
Yes.
just to step out with a coffee, sit out and admire the scenery. Fantastic.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So let's wind back a little bit. We've got the room now. You know where you're going to stay.
Yeah.
So the process
Yeah.
is you rock up at Southampton for your port arrival time. Take us from there.
Well, I think I mentioned on an earlier show there was a little bit of a kerfuffle going on our Facebook group, because initially when we booked the parking at Southampton, the implication was that we could park outside the terminal and just then walk into the terminal building. As it was, because Disney do not have a designated terminal building at Southampton, they were using the QE2 terminal, which meant that there was no car park for us to use. So we had to go to a car park that was still within the port boundary, secure, but it meant a short shuttle bus drive over. And I say a lot of people were a little bit annoyed at this because it wasn't what we were promised. The parking company very kindly gave us a 25% refund for that little bit of inconvenience. But what I will say is I thought it worked perfectly. We rolled up, we parked the car, we walked over to a large tent. We hadn't actually received our luggage labels, but from Disney at this point, brackets, we did receive them on the Wednesday that we were actually physically on the boat. But anyway, we put luggage labels on our luggage and our luggage disappeared. We got on a bus. We waited about 3 or 4 minutes and the bus drove us to the terminal. Seeing the chaos at other car parks as we drove to the terminal, I was quite glad we were doing it this way. Disney had got little stanchions all set up for your port arrival times. So we joined the queue for the 1 o'clock arrival time. At about 20 to 1, we got directed into the building for check-in. We then checked in. We got our little wristbands to say we were all good to go. And we were walking onto the ship before our 1 o'clock arrival time. I couldn't have been happier, really. It kind of just all worked out really well. And like we said before, the fact that our luggage had been taken care of, there was just me and Simon, passports in hand luggage in hand, and that was it. It was just easy peasy. It was the easiest getting on a vessel to go on holiday that I think either of us have ever experienced.
You're going up that gangplank, your hand luggage is in your hand, you step foot into the Disney dream. Explain the feels.
I had watched a few YouTube videos, I will confess, so I kind of knew a little bit what to expect. I had kind of warned Simon a little bit, but nothing actually prepares you for, as Simon said, you kind of walk from this, very perfunctory, very functional gangplank. You go through, they check you in as you walk through, and then you get asked for your family name and you are announced to the world, and everybody and the staff members dutifully applaud. And then you walk through and it's like an assault on the senses. You've got this massive chandelier, it's very opulent, it's busy everywhere, and it's a very full-on experience, and it takes your breath away. I think the word we both used at the time was it's a little bit overwhelming. We didn't quite know what to do or where to go or what we were supposed to do. And we kind of both just stood there looking at each other, smiling for what felt like an eternity. And we're kind of literally spinning around, trying to take it all in and figure out what on earth was happening. So it's a complete assault on the senses, but a good assault on the senses.
Do you remember the TV show as we were growing up? The Price is Right and Come On Down. It's a bit like that feeling for me. Because as they have the microphone, it's like, and welcome to the Phipps family, woo! And it's like, if you're like me, you know, I normally want to have the ground swallow me up and sort of going via under the carpet because I don't like all that attention and spotlight on me. So it's a mixed thing, but it is nice having been with other cruise lines that don't do that. It is actually, on reflection, such a welcoming start where you feel that you are part of the show. And I think that is the ethos with Disney, is they turn you to being the star of your vacation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I must admit, I think there was so much going on, and I think I became very aware that everybody, like other customers, other clients on the ship, were too busy doing whatever they were doing to care two whatsits about who just walked onto the ship. So I didn't quite feel that I was like, oh, I need to do something or anything. I was just like, I think I was so happy to just be there. I didn't have that, that sinking hole feeling that I thought I might have experienced. And all kudos to the entertainment staff. I said afterwards, how long have they stood there for? I hope they rotate them in and out, because to literally do that with a big smile on your face for every person, every family that walks on, wow, it's like, you know, to give everybody that magical experience and to like not feel that the person in front of you or the person behind you got more of a fanfare than you did, you know, all power to them for delivering that on repeat for however many hours it goes on for.
As you walk on, you mentioned the chandelier in that atrium, the heart of the ship. Art Deco style. It was handcrafted in northern Italy, 22 feet in diameter at the ceiling plate and comes down 13 feet, 24 karat gold plate with a staggering 88,680 Swarovski crystal beads ranging from 6mm to 12mm. It does take your breath away. I just looked and stared at that on the Fantasy in wonder, because it is such an amazing icon for the middle of the ship.
It is. It's very hard to describe that you walk into that atrium and it does feel like you've walked into some very high-end, very luxurious hotel. You can't quite comprehend that you're on a ship. Yes, you see the floors going up, but it still doesn't kind of resonate with you. We did do one of the walking tours of the ship, and they were explaining how with the chandelier, they actually once a month, they bring it down to dust it. And take out all the confetti and everything else. And if you looked up, you could actually see little pieces of paper, the confetti that had gone into the chandelier over the various different performances and what have you. So it's like, yeah, and I got visions. This is for our UK people. You know, Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, Lord.
You know, how would you catch that sort of thing coming down? But yeah, apparently they lower it down to clean it. Just thought, yeah, how else are you going to do it? Don't want to put a scaffold up, are you, to do it?
No, but it is just staggeringly beautiful. And then there's the statue celebrating a Disney character. And which one is it on the Dream?
Mr. Donald Duck. It is, and it's one of those experiences, I think, like any Disney park experience or any Disney resort hotel experience, where you can walk in and you see it all, but you don't see it. You kind of take it all in, and then it's only on subsequent days when you're walking around the ship and that atrium isn't quite as busy and you're exploring around and you start to see all the details and all the elaborateness of it and the plaques on there with all the different characters. And say we did do in fact, we did two little activities to do with the ship. And you learn a little bit more about the Art Deco style and the length and breadth of research that goes into making these ships and the Imagineering behind it all. And I say, as you start to walk around and you spot the hidden Mickeys and all that aspect of it, like Disney are very good at doing, it's seeing beyond just the glitz and the glamour after a while, and you can go and appreciate it and understand what's gone into making this look the way it does. It's absolutely outstanding.
So you're on board. What did you head for
Yeah.
first?
Right. I was a woman on a mission, Michelle. So, and I knew exactly where I was going. We initially went down to deck 2 to the Enchanted restaurant because that was where we could go down and put our name down on the wait list for Paolo brunch. Now, spoilers, we didn't get Paolo brunch, but I tried. I thought, I know what I need to do. I need to go down there, put my name down. He went, we are full. I went, I know, just wait list. He said, well, we'll contact you. I went, I know. I wasn't holding out hope, so I wasn't disappointed, but I knew I had to do that just in case.
But the good thing is, Jayne, now you've done a Disney cruise, you become a silver member.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to book these things earlier than newbies like you were this year.
Yeah, I know. And I must admit, I think initially Simon and I were, oh no, we don't want to be paying out for something extra. And so when our window had opened up to book those things, yes, I booked some excursions, but Paolo brunch kind of wasn't really on my radar. I knew how good it was, but I was like, oh, it's not really our eating thing, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw a couple of YouTube videos and I was like, oh, actually, perhaps we could do it as a treat. And of course, by that time, I was too late. So that was kind of my own fault, really. Whether I would have got one had I been on, at the midnight when the booking opened or not, I don't really know. So, but yeah, next time, it's definitely on I might have to get up at silly o'clock to try and get that one secured. But it gives us something to do on the next one, doesn't it?
Just like when you're in the parks.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure at some point you went and grabbed food?
Well, no, because after we'd gone down to deck 2, we went up to deck 11. No elevator. We walked up to deck 11.
You lunatics.
We actually, very proudly, we only went in the elevator once, and that was just to say we'd been in the elevator. We walked all the floors. We were very, very good. But my mission was to go up to deck 11 to see whether we could get a rainforest pass in the spa. That was one of the luxury things that Simon and I decided that we wanted to do on our cruise, because it's not something that we would ordinarily do day-to-day lives. We are kind of very focused on our fitness and health, and we knew we were going to take advantage of the gym that was there, which obviously is free for everybody to use. But we also liked the idea of having access to the rainforest room. That was my next priority, was to go up to deck 11. Really lovely thing was, as we came into the foyer of deck 11, there was ladies waiting there to take you to the spa if you were interested. So we had a lovely lady called Nikki who took us in, showed us the gym, showed us the rainforest room, explained how all the saunas and all the showers worked. And then she was able to sort us out with our passes. So we did pay extra. That was our little bit of extraness that we paid for. So we had access to 3 different types of saunas, 4 different types of showers. There were heated lounges and 2 hot tubs that looked out over the ocean views. And we took advantage of that. I want to say we managed to get in there 6 out of the 7 days. So I think we got our money's worth out of that.
Absolutely. Sounds like you did.
Yeah, and then after that it was like, we need to sit down and calm ourselves and kind of gather our senses. So as we were on deck 11 in the Senses Spa, it was only natural that we came out, went in Cove Cafe and grabbed specialty coffee. Got our little card to encourage us to go back and buy more coffees, which I think we thought we would do, but I did get me freebie by the time we got to the end of the cruise. And we just sat on a couple of lounges out there on deck 11 in the adults only aspect around the Cove Cafe, Cove Bar area, and kind of just took 10 minutes just to kind of go, have we done what we wanted to do? Because we knew we had these 2 little tasks when we got on board we wanted to get done. And it was like, now what do we do? Where are we? Kind of just literally having to take that 5 minutes to, no, we can just sit, have a coffee and chill. Because both Simon and I are quite organised people and very purposeful people. So this was going to be a little bit of a challenge for us, just to take the foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, and recognise that now we were on board, we didn't have to mad rush anywhere. We can literally just take as over things as we wanted. And by the end of the week, we were really enjoying that aspect of it.
All sounds fantastic. And I know this is not going to be a spoiler alert. You're already planning another one.
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to convince certain members of our family that they could do with coming with us. So it's going to be an inevitability that Simon and I will be on a cruise, and I would put money it'll be before the year is out. 12 months is out, I should say. You know, don't get me wrong. I mean, we were extremely, extremely fortunate that we had some amazing weather. I know in the UK for the week that we were away, it was mad, extremely hot temperatures. This little fluke of an Indian summer, or whatever you want to call it. But we went packed for all eventualities, because we knew we were going north, you know, into Scandinavia. Didn't know what the weather was going to be like. And apart from one very foggy night at sea, we actually had really good weather, and we were blessed with that. So looking towards next year, I have no expectations that we will have a repeat of the weather, because I think it was a complete and utter fluke. But yeah, that's just one of those risks that you take, isn't it? Sailing in Northern Europe, you're always going to run the risk of it could be as beautiful as it was, or it could be a bit grey and a bit windy and a bit chilly. So just what you have to accept.
We also touched earlier on the room itself, thinking about the little Disney touches that were there in the room and how the room was organised. One thing I personally love is the layouts of the rooms on Disney Cruise Line. What did you and Simon think?
Well, like I say, we were actually blown away, because after we'd had our coffee, it was actually then time that, you know, the rooms were open. So we got our, carry-on bags, which dutifully packed kind of like our overnight bag, because we stayed overnight in a hotel the night before, so I wanted to unpack and stuff. So we went down to the room. Yeah, room key was waiting for us on the little fish extender. We were just blown away. We were I'd say I knew what to expect. It was the size that kind of blew us away initially, but also the fact that you'd got those separate bathrooms. So you have your toilet and your sink, and then you have your sink and your shower unit. I was blown away by how spacious actually both of those rooms were. I really was expecting a sort of turn around and hit myself in the face sort of experience, but actually the shower tub, whatever you want to call it, was wonderful. We'd stayed the previous night in a, shall I name the hotel chain? Yes, I'll name the hotel. We stayed in a Premier Inn the night before. The shower on the Disney Dream was a million times better than the thing that we'd had in the Premier Inn on land. I cannot explain the difference. Talk about poles apart. It was just unbelievable. So we had a fantastic bathroom. I love the fact that on the towels you've got the Disney Cruise Line logo. I got bars of Mickey soap to bring home. I brought home 6 bars of Mickey soap, because that's what you have to do. We have the Hey products in the bathrooms. You've got the light fittings around at each side of the bed that have got the little Mickey's cutouts on the metal detail. We've had a picture of one of the cruise ships at Castaway Cay in the room. We've got a picture of like stamps that were done on like a long picture, and each of the stamps were different Disney characters. What I liked about it, and we were trying to explain this to some friends afterwards, was the fact that you could have been in that stateroom and just looked at it as a very luxurious stateroom. You wouldn't necessarily have realised you were in a Disney stateroom. You have to look and see the Disneyness. Does that make sense? That element of the hidden Mickeys and the little attention to detail. Beautiful. The sofa was comfy. It's one of the best beds I've ever slept in. I wanted to bring the pillows home with me. The pillows were so lovely. I'm hating my pillows at the moment on my own bed, in my own house. I think the first night we got home, I was like, I want my Disney pillows. My Disney pillows were comfier than my own pillows. So yeah, it was just beautiful. And then not long after we'd been in the room, our first priority, obviously, was to decorate the door.
Of course.
Of course, because Simon had made these amazing door magnets for us. He designed them all. So that went on. And at that point, we met our room service guy, whatever the term is. And he was lovely. And one of our cases had turned up. So by about 2:30-ish, we'd got one of our two cases. And I think we were back at the room later on, probably about 5:30, and our second case had arrived. So we had no issues with the cases turning up. We were so well looked after in the room. I know you've spoken about it before, Michelle, and it was your eagerness and keenness to tell us about the service aspect that I think swung us to go on the cruise. And yeah, you were not wrong. The guy we had was lovely. The fact that every time we went back to the room, there was fresh towels, because we were coming back from the sauna and having another shower back in our room. So we were like going through, towels. We would bring robes back with us from the spa, and they would all disappear. And the towel animals and the chocolates and the curtains being drawn for you at night time. It was so luxurious from our point of view, because that's not the sort of hotel experiences that we go looking for normally. We're normally a bit of a cheap and cheerful, like I say, the room's a room sort of thing, looking for those extra add-on bits, and we got all that with Disney. The fact that we came back the first night and all the little cables that we'd left lying around to charge phones and video cameras, etc., were all tied up with little cable ties. It was like, oh, somebody's tidied our things for us. That's really cool. And it was just
those
all
touches,
those
isn't
bits. It absolutely is. And every cast member that we would see on our floor. So bear in mind, obviously, these guys are looking after a certain number of rooms, and we will see different people as we wandered up and down. And then when I went pixie dusting, everybody said hello. Everybody wanted to know how your day was going. They were happy to stand and chat with you. It was, just phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
We have got more to unpack on Jayne's cruise, talking about the food, of course, talking about the ports, and answering any questions that any would-be cruisers would have for her in the upcoming weeks as well. But until next time, you can see some of Jayne's wonderful holiday snaps on @JayneFips as well as @DizDreamGirls over on their Instagram. But until next week, what we're going to say, Jayne?
Goodbye for now.
And goodbye from me.